What's up, everybody? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sixpack, and I am a Singed one trick in the E-West and UNE region. In this video, I'll be explaining the best runes to take for Singed, his build, what you should ban and what matchups to look out for, his early laning phase in both mid lane and top lane, mechanics as well as combos, and last but not least, his playstyle, which is very dependent on his runes. Okay, so first of all, we're going to go over mid lane. The best runes for Singed mid lane are going to be Predator, followed by Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, and Relentless Hunter. The second page should almost always be Celerity with Water Walking. Conquer and Glacial Augment are also good rune pages, but they're very matchup specific. Now, as for summoner spells, you should mainly go Flash and Ghost, but I've actually started playing with this champion for the first time with Ghost and Cleanse. Now, it may seem troll, yeah, but if the enemy team has a lot of CC, let's say you're playing against a Cancer Harry that hits the charm, since it's a like impossible spell to dodge anyways, uh, the Cleanse is going to be really useful. If the enemy team has a lot of hard CC, when you go into a team fight and get CC'd, you insta-cleanse, and then Cleanse basically has like a, what was it? 65% tenacity for 3 seconds, like for incoming disables. So this is actually not bad. But what you should almost always play is Ghost and Flash for mid lane. What you should always build on Singed are these two core items, Rylai and Demonic. You must have them on this champion. It's absolutely necessary if you want to be useful. Which one of them start is matchup specific. I'll go over it in a second. But these are not the items you should start. The item you should always start first on Singed are boots. Absolutely necessary. This champion is only useful if he has a lot of movement speed. Remember this. As for the first item, you either take Rylai or Demonic. Now, let's say you're a little bit behind. If you're behind, you should always make sure that you build items that are going to be useful to your teammates. So Rylai is going to be the better option. Either if you're even with your laner, or maybe even a little bit ahead, you should always go Demonic. And Demonic is a must-have if you're playing against a chunkier laner as well. So, after you build these two core items, Rylai and Demonic, you have a pretty big variety of mythic items you can build. If you're playing against a tankier team, you can go Riftmaker. If you're playing against a squishier team, you can go Jackshaw. So you can run them down and always be like almost invincible, basically. Radiant Virtue is not a bad item if you're behind. It's very useful for your teammates and for you as well, because you'll be with a lot of health when you press R. And your teammates also get HP for this. Route of Ages is not bad, but you need to be very ahead early game in order to build this item first. This is the only exception where you shouldn't start boots and actually buy Route of Ages first. Now, let's say you're running Predator on mid lane. You start, this is what I do. You can do different things. You can go Dark Seal start and Warden. This is not bad if you know that you probably won't get killed level 3 maybe. But you need to learn the matchups. So Dark Seal and Refillable is not a bad start. The second thing you can do when playing mid lane is buy boots and Refillable. This is if you're playing with Predator. I always go boots and Refillable. Then, when you have enough money, you need 600 gold, you rush boots. This is what you always do, except if you're playing Route of Ages. Then you build the Rylai, Demonic, Jackshaw, and this is basically your power spike. Once you get these 3 items, you're basically invincible. You can go Predator, Ghost, and R into fights, and you like 1v9. Your teammates just need to follow you. You can't be exactly 1v5, but I've done things on Baron Pit that you probably think are not possible with this champ. As for the other items you can build when you build these 3 core items, which are absolutely necessary, you can go Dead Mountain into Force of Nature. This is your final build. You may not need to build Force of Nature if you went Dark Seal early. So after you buy boots for 600 gold on your first pack, you can also buy Dark Seal if you have enough money. If you have 10 stacks, I recommend you buy Magi. If you do not have 10 stacks, if you have 9 stacks and you have money, sell this item and go Force of Nature. It's not useful. If you have 9 stacks, it doesn't give you the good passive, which is what is it? Again, 10% movement speed if you at least have 10 stacks. So if you have 10 stacks, always go for this item. It's very useful. The moment you die, sell it. It's not useful to have this if you die. Um, so when you're playing mid lane, there are two matchups you should always look out for, and these are Ahri and LeBlanc. LB is the worst matchup you can have when playing Singed mid lane, and this is because your laning phase will be absolutely impossible to play because this champion outpokes you, outruns you because of our W, and even your jungler cannot help you. It will out CS you, and when you roam, you'll be basically almost useless if you're compared to this champion. So good matchups are always going to be champions that have close auto attack ranges, like Kiana, Talon, Katarina. Fizz is an okay matchup as well. So you should always look out for these kind of matchups. If you know you have a bad matchup, some of the worst ones are control mages such as Anivia Syndra. They are not the worst, but they're very bad matchups. So when you know you're having a bad matchup, you should always try to look for roams and play around your teammates so you can get them ahead, so then they can help you. That's basically what kind of matchups you should look out for. Singed is one of the weakest champions in the early game, and this is because he relies on the items he builds. So what you should always do is carefully consider your matchup and then think about what you'll do in the game to be useful. Since Singed is such a weak early game champion, you need to find other ways to actually be useful for your teammates, get them ahead, and get yourself ahead as well. So if you know you're playing against a hard matchup, try to be more passive until you get your boots as your first item and maybe get your first major item, like Rylai, for example. Singed is a very unpredictable champion, so enemies will have a very hard time analyzing your items, and they will not know when you will actually be useful in the game or not. Even if you die 3 or 4 times, you will be behind, yes, but once you have your power spike with these items, that you'll be very unpredictable in what you can do. So you have a bad matchup. Play passive, and the moment you see a play in the river, you will be playing Predator. So you go Predator and always look for 2v2 situations or 2v1 situations, but never duel with this champion. This is what most Singed players make as a mistake. This is not a champion that is made for 1v1s. Most people play him on top lane and think that they can actually duel with champion, but that's not the case. This champion excels in 2v2s and team fights, especially because he's very unpredictable and people will sometimes chase him, and that's the biggest mistake they make. So do not go for duels unless you're 100% certain that it will result in something positive for your team, like shoving a wave, getting a kill, or getting a plate on the tower, or getting a Rift Herald spawn on mid, something like that. Otherwise, do not go for useless trades, useless tries for kills. Always go for team fighting situations. This is where Singed's ability always excels. So let's say you are playing an okay matchup. Um, Maybe against a Talon or something like that, something close range, you know you're having a good time, or maybe your jungler ganked you and you have an HP advantage on him. Do not be scared to go and shove the wave. This is what you should always do when you're playing Predator. Shove the wave into his tower and then look for place around the map. Let's say you see the bot lane like this. The red wave is shoving into our bot lane tower right now. So over here, you insta-go Predator. If you don't have R, just Predator, press Ghost, and you're already basically unkillable. Just throw them back into your teammates, and you're good to go. Since the wave is already pushing in, they would be forced to come into a position that would be very easy to gank for you. And since the wave on mid lane is already shoved into the tower, you're actually not losing anything. So if you're not low HP, you can just walk back into lane and maybe lose maximum 1 or 2 minions. So it's not bad. This is what you should always do, and this is how you get ahead as this champion. If your jungler doesn't play around you, then you try to play around him. If you know you're not going to win a fight, don't even bother going in. Let your jungler die, it's better if you survive, since this champion needs to be ahead to actually do something positive in the game. Same thing goes for top lane. If you see waves shoving into like this, and the laner is maybe somewhere around here, always go for these roams. They will always result in something positive. Burning a flash is worth it. Killing the laner is worth it. Tilting the enemy laner is also worth it, because you know why? Because this is game of tiltage. This is the absolute truth. You get tilted, you lose the game. So, alright, now as far as mechanics and combos, I put this here because it's really important. If you're fighting a bad matchup on mid lane, you should always do this when you're getting poked under tower. Now, let's say the laner has shoved the enemy, like his wave, into my tower, and my wave is right here matching it, and the tower is shooting the minions. What you will do is actually walk up. This is if you're playing a ranged matchup, something that's harassing you, wants to poke you under tower. So this is what you do. You poison trail the minions, his minions, so they're close to dying. When you see they're close to dying, what they'll do, because they don't respect Singed, is walk up, do 2 or 3 auto attacks. Now, when you see him walking up for another auto attack, when you've poisoned the minions, you throw your W onto yourself on the ground, and then you fling him into the W. This way you root him, and he'll take 2 or 3 tower shots. You need to do it fast though, it's not like this. So you will poison trail the minions like this, and then you will throw your W here, flash E, and then he's rooted. 1, 2, 3. And last second, when the W wears off, he's still slowed for like 70% for 1 more second. So he's almost guaranteed to take 3 tower shots, which is a kill. If he's level 4, 5, or 6, doesn't matter, it's almost always a kill. This is what I always do when I'm having a bad time on mid lane. The laner doesn't respect me. He pokes me under turret, and I do this. I just throw it, and then you fling him back. Oh. To summarize everything, play Predator. Always play Predator when playing mid lane. This is the rune you should almost always take, except if it's a weird matchup. Core build should always be Rylai, Demonic, Boots of Swiftness, and you always start Boots of Swiftness, and then you choose to go either Radiant Virtue or Jaxo. If you go Roll of Ages, you always start this item. Then you go Deadman into Force of Nature. If you have 10 Dark Seal stacks, if you start Dark Seal early, go for Magi. If your team's winning. If you're the only one winning, it's better if you just go full build. So, to win games on this champion, play around your teammates, play around your vision, ward your junglers raptors so they don't get tilted if they lose them. Ward enemy raptors as well when you're shoving the wave. Try little ways to snowball the game. This is how you win games the higher you go. I've myself played in low elo and in high elo games, so this is what you should always do. Find small ways to get yourself ahead so you can help your teammates. When they're ahead, you're ahead. This is how the champion works on mid lane. On top lane, it's a little bit different because you can actually start 1v1ing. You can play him with Ignite, you can play him with Conquer, but if you're playing Predator, this is your playstyle. You need to be roaming, you need to be taking kills, you need to help your teammates. This is it. So, this is basically the end of this video. I will be uploading a top lane Singed video when I'm done making it. The playstyle is much different than this one. So I hope you guys like this one. Make sure to subscribe and like the video. If you're not happy with something I said, you can always comment. I'd be happy to learn because I haven't mastered the champion perfectly yet. I don't think anyone has. So yes, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, comment, and like the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.